What's up, core reporters? Welcome back to my channel. Of course, I'm recapping the wedding episode, the final wedding episode of Love is Blind season 4. Let's jump into it, right? I'm already behind enough as it is. Let me just say this. I am honestly shocked that Kwame said yes to marrying Chelsea. I did an interview with Coco Moco from TikTok where I said, listen, I'm going to go ahead and guess that he will say yes, but I just don't see love between the two of them because they started building that up for us in the last 2 episodes, I want to say. So it made sense that he said yes at the end. And of course, when his sister Barbara came and really kind of laid on the pressure for him and Chelsea as well, I was like, okay, he's probably like, my sister's here. She practically raised me. She really wants this to happen. And so he probably kind of felt it that way. But I'm sorry, he still looks quite miserable around Chelsea. And let me give you an example. So after they get married, she says, cheers to forever. What does Kwame say? Not forever, forever, ever, forever, like a joke or like an excitement. He goes, forever. And he asks it as a question, as if he does not intend to be there forever. And I was like, okay, another red flag that my girl is going to dress up pink and ignore. Another example, she says, you're my husband. And every time someone says that in this show over the seasons, the next person goes, and you're my wife, right? It's a natural thing. But what happened here? She goes, you're my husband. And Kwame just says, yeah. Oh my God, I just don't see it for this couple. I know they looked stronger at their reunion, and we're going to get into that in my reunion recap, but I just do not see it as of these episodes that we're seeing here. Next up is Micah's wedding. She and Paul are about to walk down the aisle. She shares with her friends that she is suffering from the jitters, which of course I don't blame her because she's walking down the aisle unsure that this man is even going to say yes to her. She claims to be 100% in love with him, but she doesn't know where he's at with her. And Paul, of course, as usual, is getting super analytical with his groomsmen and talks about the battle going on internally between his head and his heart. He loves that Micah brings him out of his head a bit, but of course, he still struggles with fully getting out there and trusting in his heart. Micah, on the other hand, thanks to her parents for their support over the years and whatnot. And I thought it was a really sweet scene that they shared together. And Paul's parents are trying to help him talk him off the ledge and urge him to follow his bliss, pun intended, with our beautiful contestant Bliss, and his emotions as well, which I thought was lovely. They weren't too forceful. They weren't getting super frustrated with him. They were just saying, hey, it's in your best interest to listen to your heart every once in a while. His dad even kind of empathize with him because he's like, oh, I know you got it from me, basically. And so that was a sweet moment. Paul just sounded so depressingly analytical, though, about the decision. And I got to say, I couldn't be with a Paul. It's just too much. It's too cerebral for me. I like smart men, but I don't want someone who just wants to, calculate everything down to the last nanosecond or nano feeling. You know what I mean? I don't like that. I don't think that is living life. And it's just not my vibe, to be honest with you. I will say, though, that the vibes that they exchanged up at the altar were incredibly beautiful. So I was shocked when Paul blindsided all of us by saying no. But although my jaw was on the floor and I just felt a little bit horrified, look at Micah's friends, right? She's got the blonde one that very obviously is a frenemy of hers who doesn't really have her best interests at heart. She is cringing, but with a happy look on her. And then the black-haired one, she is full-blown smirking. It was really horrible, to be honest with you. The fact that they would do that while being videoed, I wonder how they treat her off camera, because that was really disgusting, to be honest with you. Micah, their best friend up there, was humiliated and they couldn't look any more thrilled about it. In fact, Shelby, who I believe is secretly in love with Micah because she chases off all of her boyfriends, literally says that it went down the exact same way that she wanted to happen. She's like, yeah, that's exactly it. And it's really, girl, you wanted for your friend to be rejected at the altar by someone that she was in love with and she thought she was going to marry? Weird, to be honest with you, right? And I think she's because I want it to be me, it should be me with her, she's obsessed with this girl, and Micah needs to steer clear of her. I feel if anything, maybe a mutual separation, not ending with your friend crying, running down the aisle. They didn't even get up to chase after her, right? And not only that, but I feel okay, if my friend rejected the dude, even better. But for you to want it to end up this way, it's weird, and it says a lot about you. She's like, oh, I feel so relieved. Why are you relieved? This has nothing to do with you, but I digress. Now, let me say this. Paul ultimately follows Micah to the bridal suite, and he's just so awkward. I know a lot of people say that Zach's awkward, but I think that Paul has the same kind of vibe going on. I don't think they know how to read the room. You know what I mean? Like some people just are not, they can't read emotions or cues. And I think that those two fall into that category. So Micah's like crying in the bridal suite or whatever. And he's just like standing there. And he's like, should I go? Did I make the right decision? And it's like, dude, like you were over here calculating the entire algorithm of this wedding. And now you rejected me in front of my family and and friends. And you have the audacity to stand here asking me if your grown ass made the right decision. I'm sorry, but F right off. Like I would have been so pissed for someone to ask me such a stupid question. You know what I mean? Like what the hell was that? And so Micah asked him to leave, and he's still like standing there, like between her and the door and her friends and stuff. And so finally he listens. And on his way out, he had already like crossed the threshold to the door. Like he kind of turns around to spank her friend on the side of the hip. And I'm like, he might have even gotten some cheek action on that. And I'm like, well, why would you do that? Why would you needlessly touch her? Like that was weird. That was suspicious. We find out on the Vile podcast, which I will be recapping, by the way, that Paul and that girl follow each other. I think something's going on. Maybe that's why she looked so happy that her friend was dumped at the altar. She's like, okay, this is my time to shine, right? Shelby's happy because now she gets to bump kitties potentially with Micah. And this one's happy because now she gets to potentially bump uglies with Paul. So yeah, both of her friends are weird and they seem to have alternative motives for being happy about her humiliation. Now, in his exit interview about why he said no at the altar, Paul claims that like a big deal for him was that Micah did not give off nurturing energy. And I'm like, well, Paul, you don't give off nurturing energy. What is nurturing about Paul, the algorithm? Okay, who has never like who doesn't know how to listen to his heart, how to follow to his heart. That is literally the greatest theme for him in this entire season of the show, that he has never listened to his heart a day in his life. He doesn't know what intuition is. He doesn't know how to get out of his head. And he has the audacity to say that Micah isn't nurturing. Please take a look at yourself. He's like, I can't picture her as a mom. Well, I don't know. Take a look at yourself. Can you picture yourself as a dad? Let's talk about that. Micah, yeah, she is a mean girl. She is this, she is that. But I felt like that was a low blow comment and it was a disgusting comment. And I don't support it. Now, Brett. Okay, so at this point, it's time for him and Tiffany to get married. And so he and Tiffany's father have a beautiful conversation about love and marriage and what their childhoods were like, what they wanted to give to their kids and whatnot. And Brett officially asked for Tiffany's father to bless the marriage and stuff. And of course he does, right? Because Tiffany is just so happy with him. And then we get a scene of Brett becoming a bit of a groomzilla because his suit was not fitting properly. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I didn't like his suit. I do not like when men wear all white at the altar, right? I like when they wear like a gray suit, a blue suit, a black suit. I even like those forest green suits that some people wear. Like I even like the burgundy suits, but like a white suit to me, I don't like. It's too much white up there because you already are going to have a nice long white dress. I don't want to see it next to an all white suit, right? So that was my first thing. And then the other thing, it's like, okay, well, why did he wait until the morning of his wedding day to try that suit on again, right? Like that was weird. Wouldn't you want to know if the fit was proper at least a week before? That's on you. And then his brother was just like, oh, well, I see what you mean. Like, this shirt is tight as hell too. And so he's like, yeah, but it's my wedding, you know? And I was like, calm down, but I get it. He's under a lot of stress and it is what it is. Sometimes a lot of stress and pressure can bring out the worst on you. So whatever. He did actually ultimately end up going to like a tailor who was able to fix his suit pants. And so I was happy for him that that was able to be done. We did also get a scene between Brett and Marshall, which I thought was really sweet, ahead of him walking down the aisle. Marshall saying he's happy for him. Of course, it still hurts that his girl dumped him and left him in the cold and kept the ring and everything, but he's going to be there for his friend and he loves him and this is his day. And then they value their bromance or their brotherhood that they've got together. And I loved it, to be honest with you. So at this point, Brett gets up to his place at the end of the aisle and his beautiful queen, his beautiful bride, Tiffany, starts walking down the aisle and he is crying. He is tearing up and it was beautiful. Hiccups. It was beautiful, I do have to say. I really love this couple. If they ever break up, please know that you need to call my nearest hospital because I will be on life support, okay? Obviously, they say yes at the wedding, at the altar and stuff. Like they tried to like play us that like it could potentially be a no, like a blindsided no. But the issue that Brett was having was the tailoring of his pants. Look at this. You see what I mean when I say I don't like for a groom to wear a white suit? Look how it just looks like a white blob when they're together, right? Because it's too much white. Then you've got all the white flowers with no colors going on. Yeah, I didn't love that, to be honest with you. I will say, like, when it comes to decor, I felt like Zack and Bliss's wedding was really, really beautiful. Let me show you a better. You see, like, is this wisteria or something like that? I really love these flowers that they had behind them. It made for a really dramatic, like, backdrop. Micah had baby breath with touches of like rose and whatnot, which I thought was beautiful. But I felt like the all white of this wedding was sterile almost. I wasn't a huge fan, but I digress. I do also have to ask you guys, is Seattle that rainy, or did they shoot all these weddings in one day or one weekend or 1 week? Because every single wedding was rained on. And I'm like, this is such a beautiful setting with that gorgeous mountain. And it is so gray and gloomy and rainy. And I hated that for them. Now, after the marriage situation, Tiffany jokes with her new husband about getting it on for a quickie in the bridal suite. And I thought that was funny. I will say also another surprise. So I already told you guys that I was surprised that Chelsea and Kwame wound up getting married. I will say that I was also surprised a little bit that Bliss and Zack wound up getting married as well, just because I felt like there was a lot of resentment to work through. And I imagined that they would decide to date outside of the show until they had overcome those hurdles. But ultimately, they decided to just go ahead and get married and work on those things within their marriage, I guess. Again, I love their decor. I think this is my favorite of all. Super gorgeous. And Bliss's dress had to be my favorite as well. I thought she looked like a fairy princess. Absolutely stunning. And just before getting married, Zack has a conversation with his grandma. He's sad that his mom couldn't be alive to see this day. His sister's there as well, and they're all kind of tearing up. And I'm tearing up with them because, of course, it's sad. It's devastating imagining that, like, you know, like it's horrible. I really feel for him and people who go through this as well, losing a parent, and just like wondering what their reaction would have been like to these huge milestones in your life, you know? Now, I will say Bliss's dad, oh God, I do not like that man. I don't know if he's just coming across worse on TV or if that's how he is, but I don't like him. He's really rude. Like, you guys remember the way he treated Zack when they had that little exchange at the house, meeting each other for the first time. But he's getting ready to walk Bliss down the aisle alongside her mom as well. She's got them on both sides of her. And he would just like make little comments about like, oh, like, hopefully he can keep up with you. And Bliss's mom, her sweet angelic mom, would be on the other side like, oh, I know he can. And then he'd say something, oh, we'll see about that. The mom would be like, oh, like, do you have your flowers? Like, you've got them? Like, she kept on trying to distract Bliss from the negativity that is her father. And I'm like, I don't know how she even like got with that man or put up with that man, but she is just such a light, happy, positive spirit. And he is such a dark, negative cloud, you know? And so his last thing to her is, remember, you're the prize. And so that's kind of it. And then they walk down the aisle, and the minister of the marriage was like, okay, who gives this bride away to be married? The mom goes, I do. At the same time, the mom goes, we. The dad goes, I do. And at the same time, the mom goes, we do. And I'm like, ooh, you see, that is another fundamental difference between the two of them, right? It's very subtle, but it slaps you in the face when you think about like all of the cumulative behaviors of the two of them. The mom is just consistently pure and just giving and wonderful. Remember, she told Zack she'll be his mom, right? If Bliss loves him and accepts him, she will be his mom and love him and accept him as well. He doesn't have one anymore. Unfortunately, she passed away. If the situation was like that with his dad or whatever, Bliss's dad would have never said such a thing, right? Anyway, now we get to see everybody talk about their situation, whether they got married or not. And of course, you got Micah crying over her guy, Paul, saying no at the altar. I'm going to be real with you guys. I did not buy Micah's tears. I did not find them genuine. I don't think she wanted to marry that man. I think she wants to play victim. It's very inauthentic and just like it seemed really rehearsed what she was saying. And she said that he never chose her and he never this and he never that. And it's like, well, then why would you be confident enough to marry him? I don't believe for a second that that girl would have said yes to that man at the end of the day, right? If she were the one who had the opportunity to say it first. Sorry, I put up the wrong photo there. And now let's get into Chelsea. Remember, I have a video about it's called Chelsea is Exhausting. If you want to go ahead and watch that. I forgot some of what I said about it, but I did say that like it becomes more and more apparent with each episode why this like seemingly nice, level-headed lady is single. but she's domineering. She can be kind of condescending. Like, for example, the way she was telling Kwame to compliment her and this and that and just pushing for things. Now, in this episode, after getting married and stuff, she says, "Oh my God, this is the most exciting adventure that you have ever been on." To Kwame, a digital nomad who travels the world just living his life, right? Up until now. And I was like, "Excuse me?" And Kwame's face too was like, "Excuse me?" Like, it's just so rude. It's condescending. It's weird. It's like, why don't you say it's the most exciting adventure that we have ever been on or we're embarking on? Or I have ever been on, and whatever. Don't speak for the other person. I find that rude. I find that condescending, and I find that overbearing. Like, these are really big turnoffs to me in people, like, in friends or in lovers. So I could totally see why sometimes Kwame seems very off put by Chelsea, and I could see why other men in the past have found her off-putting. I can't. I don't like that, to be honest with you. Like, it just grates my nerves. It's just really rude. It's really weird. Like, a lot of us have had like really eventful and fun lives that we're proud of. Like myself, for example. Okay. So if someone ever told me that something was the most exciting adventure that I have ever experienced, I'd be like, F right off. You clearly don't know me if you would say that, okay? Like, if you think that like getting married or this or that is the most exciting adventure for me, F right off. I've lived a full life. This is not the pinnacle of my life. You know what I mean? Anyway, I digress. Let me know what you think about all this episode in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. Let's get into the reunion as well very soon. So keep an eye out. Take care. Bye.